Okay, so could you repeat the first question for me?
Of course. So the first question I asked is basically when you mentioned that God forgave our sins even before we ask for forgiveness, thinking about Luke 15, how do you see the relationship between God's grace that comes beforehand and the act of the sinner actually repenting?
Okay,
Which
okay,
one do you
okay.
think?
So I have answered these questions previously, previously, and I have said it so many times. So I want to shift our focus to something else. I'll make another question that is more central to the passage discussed here.
Absolutely, we can switch gears. Let's dive into something else from that passage. Here's another question for you. When we look at the older brother's reaction in the parable of the prodigal son, how do you think that challenges us as believers today in terms of dealing with our own attitudes toward those who are returning to faith or who've been away? I'd
So,
love to hear your take on that.
so we should not be jealous over uh, God's welcome and God's welcome to the return of the lost souls.
Exactly. That's a great point. It's like the parable really pushes us to examine any hint of jealousy or self righteousness we might have. So we realize that if God is throwing a celebration for someone who's come back, then we're invited to share in that joy too, rather than feeling left out or resentful. So thanks
Yeah,
for
so in
sharing that.
addition to that, we must remember we were also once the prodigal son who left the father and uh, came back with a rejoiced welcome.
Absolutely. That's a really thoughtful point. It's like remembering our old story in that parable, right? We've all had those moments of wandering away and then experiencing God's grace when we came back. And that definitely helps us have a more compassionate and joyful attitude toward others who are doing the same. So I think that's a great reminder. Let me know if there's another aspect